Hello and welcome. I am Pink Girl Teaches, and on this channel I talk about narcissistic abuse as well as share some tips for recovery. To all the new subscribers, I want to thank you so very much for joining me and being part of this community. It is my sincere hope that you are able to find some of the answers for the things that you are looking for, or the parts that you need to help you piece together the madness that we experience after narcissistic abuse. And welcome back to everybody else. If you have not already subscribe to this channel, like why, I invite you to go ahead and press subscribe and turn on the notification bell, like, comment, and share. So as you can see, today we are going to be talking about the sons of narcissistic mothers. So whenever a narcissist has a child, we all know that this child is disadvantaged from the start. They are being raised or brought into this world by a vessel that is empty. You know, many times mothers, when we bring forth children, we are the vessel that carries them into life. And, you know, we nurture our children because we've carried it. It's a part of us and we love it. And we do everything that we can to ensure that our child has a solid foundation for life. And we do everything to prepare our child for life. Not so much if you are a empty vessel. If you are the narcissistic mother, you know, for narcissistic moms. Now, you know, not every son, not every man will be able to say this is how my mom was, because, you know, there are different types of narcissists. You know, we have the covert, the malignant, there's even the psychopath and the sociopath, and they all can reproduce, which is crazy. But you know, there is no license that is required to have children. So these moms, they damage the self-worth of their sons. They remove, or they don't allow the son to have any autonomy, and this drastically affects or impacts their future relationships with friends, with the fathers, with siblings, and also with their future wives, girlfriends, and even their own children. So, you know, the foundations are so important. And so if this is the foundation that the child is getting, you know, we can be very concerned about the type of life that he would have. And ladies, some of us have been involved in relationships with narcissists, or just toxic men, or even just the mama boy type of man. And we're like wondering, where's the disconnect? Why can't you see me? Why won't you put my needs first? Why won't you respect me? Because he's been brought up by a narcissistic mother many times. So we know that these moms, they lack empathy, and this that lack of empathy limits their ability to adequately nurture for their children. And so you do find that the emotional as well as psychological needs of the children are neglected. She criticizes her sons, and really thinks that she's superior, and does not let them, you know, draw into themselves or be able to trust themselves, because she never validates them. And so the children or the sons are raised in, you know, in an environment where they're just walking on eggshells, and they're unsure, and they look to her, you know, and in that looking to her, it idealizes her, which is exactly one of the things that she wants. It always has to be her way or the highway. And if the child is non-compliant, guess who's in trouble? Guess who flies off the handle? Guess who becomes a whole monster? You got it. The crazy mom, the demonic mom. You know, she punishes her sons for not listening. And this is really because the mother is insecure. And you know, with any narcissist, they are so dramatic when it comes to their needs, when they want affection, attention, adoration, admiration. They go through great lengths to obtain narcissistic supply. And when they don't get it, that's where we find that they experience that narcissistic injury. And this is no different with these moms. You know, they are easily triggered, and they're very envious, and they end up hating their sons sometimes and fly into a rage easily. This is dependent on the type of narcissist that she is. But like with all narcissists, she's going to lack boundaries. And so she is going to seep into every area of her son's life. Nothing is off limit. Remember, she thinks that the son is an extension to her. So she is there to live through the son, and he is there to meet her needs. And this child is shamed. He gets blamed for everything. And this is all to appease her own emotional discomfort, because remember, she can't validate herself. She can't regulate her emotions. And so she projects that onto the son. And so this can manifest in different ways in different children, as they get older. But initially, the sons are going to be dependent on their narcissistic mothers to meet their needs, because remember, they're still a child and they still need to be nurtured. There are things that they cannot do for themselves, and so they look to their mothers. Now, the way these mothers operate is sometimes they are very aggressive towards their children, or they may act like, and this is an illusion, they may act like the loving, adoring, caring type of mother. But please remember, this is an illusion. And then you have those mothers who are highly inappropriate. Sometimes they don't molest their children, but they are very seductive towards their sons. And this is what we know as emotional incest. Yes, this is a real thing. And the narcissistic mom does do this to her children, again, dependent on what type of narcissist she is. So you find that you have those mothers that neglect their children. And this is simply because, like, hey, she feels like, why do I have to change my life for this kid? Because she's still trying to be out there gathering narcissistic supply. She's still trying to be out there living her best life and doing whatever it is that she wants. And the child is cramping her style. And so she gets agitated and she's resentful and she rages to the children because, again, they're cramping her style. And so she will shame the children. She will blame them for having to take care of them. And her life could be so much better without the children. She could have advanced so much further in life. She could be doing whatever she wants. But because you are here in this home, you are here in this world, I can't live because of you. And so imagine the type of emotions this child feels. Remember, they're still developing. And so she's traumatizing that child from the beginning. And you do find that she will, with the sons, these narcissistic moms, they may take their sons and actually make the son the golden child. And she may have one son who is the favorite one, and that will be the one she selects to be the golden child. But remember that this is just to be able to get some narcissistic supply off this child. It's not because she truly loves this child more than anyone, but this is the one who is easier for her to control and to manipulate. So she'll have her golden child and she'll triangulate with the black sheep, or she'll triangulate even with a spouse, even with a husband, even with a father. So there's no limits to what she does. She is toxic to the core. And, this is where the enmeshment comes in, and this is just another way that she derives narcissistic supply from her children, because she's so emotionally needy. And even though she acts like she has it all together, but she needs that child. She needs her son to be able to get her narcissistic supply from. And so, she just seeps into him. She just infects his life with her foolishness. She becomes dependent on her son, and she gets him to be compliant to her needs and to her outrageous demands through adoring behavior. Sometimes she may be so loving and, oh, baby, let me do this for you. I made you your favorite food. Now go do what I said. Now praise me. Now love me like this. Now sit right here and tell me how wonderful I am. And that's all to control his response. That's also to get that narcissistic supply from her child. And sometimes it's emotional support. Sometimes the father's not in the house and she wants somebody to talk to. Daddy may have left and I need you to sit here and talk to me because I'm sad. And if he was here, he would be listening to me. But since you're the man of the house, since you're the man of the house, come talk to me. Can you rub my feet, baby? Can you tell me, let me tell you about my day. Listen to me, And oftentimes when this happens, you find that this type of mother is the one that as she ages, she wants that child to be responsible for all of her business, her affairs, pays her rent or whatever, or handle her finances. She may give him the money to take care of things, but she wants him to, just take control or take care of her. And she needs him for attention and affection, just like she would if she had a man. And this, you find, makes the child feel, or makes her son feel special. He feels loved, important, valued. And it basically, what she is doing is reinforcing his dependency upon her. And if this is her golden child, and he's got these feelings of being loved by her more, or being closer to her because she wants to share things, that this is our secret, honey, don't tell your brother, don't tell your sister. And so he may feel a little more superior to his siblings, to the black sheep. And this will, this can affect the way that he sees himself, and it's damaging at the end of the day. And guess what? This is all, again, for her pleasure. She's the only one who benefits in this, because when you really consider what's happening, she's destroying her child, and when he wants to be independent, when he wants to be, or when he gets to the point or the age where, young boys want to, just figure out who they are and grow into their selves, she gets angry. And, she makes the child feel responsible for however it is that she's feeling now that he's trying to come into himself. And so she manipulates him. And so he feels he's mad at himself, and he's mad at her, and he's mad at everybody. And he reacts, he acts out differently. And this is where you can also find the sons now, the boys, getting in trouble at school, getting involved with the wrong company, all because he's trying to make it make sense for himself. Now, another thing that these narcissistic moms do is love bomb and devalue their sons. Okay, how this works is that she actually builds up his confidence, just the same way that I just mentioned how she will cater to him, or how she makes him feel more special or more connected to her. So she gives him a sense of importance, and he gains confidence in that. But what happens now is that the script kind of flips as he gets older, because now, again, this is where he's also challenging his freedom. He's challenging her. He wants to become a man. He's a young boy trying to figure himself out, and he's growing up, and he has to be allowed to discover himself, because this is a normal part of life. But guess what? Not with a narcissist, because how dare you think you can change things on me, is what she's saying. And so she brings him down. She devalues him. She criticizes him. She's yelling and screaming, telling him he's no good. He'll end up like his father, and nothing good can come out of him. And this is the same woman, with the same breath, will pick up the phone and call her friends and tell her what an amazing son she has, how blessed she is, how lucky she is. Yet behind closed doors, this is what's happening. And so, you find, like, with these type of women, husbands, significant others, when they're in the home, they tend to avoid them, because who wants to be around a nagging woman? Even the Bible says it's better to be on the roof than be in a house with a nagging woman. So he finds ways to stay out of the house, right? Simply because he can't stand being there. And so even that, the children notice this, like, daddy's never home. And when he's home, he's not engaged, or he's not connected. And, nobody wants to be around her. But this, again, also plays into how the son begins to perceive relationships. So, he may feel like she's being abandoned, and she will play into that, and it just serves to further, dictate the way that he sees his father, and not just his father, but other men, and she'll tell him, like, you're the only good one here. There are no good men, but you will be something. You will be special. And the moment he's trying to be himself, she cuts that down. She cuts him down, and she calls him all types of names. And when their father is not there, and when she may have needs or whatever, she rages and she becomes violent to the children. Sometimes, she may be even an addict. And so the sons see this behavior in her. And because they've idealized her, and she's been their savior, because she set it up to be like that, they may sometimes copy the behaviors of her, and then just bond to her at the same time. So you find them just becoming like her, raging, violent, addicts, poor behavior, poor choices. And in terms of how these mothers, how they are so toxic to the point where they are actually maybe not always molesting their sons. There are cases where this happens, but when it becomes more of a matter of emotional incest, this occurs when the mothers kind of, well, not kind of, but highly inappropriate. And this is by, using her feminine ways. And so it's how she talks, and how she uses her words, and her tone, and that thing that women do. Even then, she becomes inappropriate with how she presents herself and how she clothes herself. She could be walking around the house in panty and bra, or even some really sexy lingerie, and just being inappropriate because this child is still growing and is like, wow, what is this, and that it may give her some type of narcissistic supply. She's taking somebody who's either at the onset of puberty or in puberty, and hormones are doing what they do, and she's stimulating him. She's stimulating him mentally, and she's got him thinking things or whatever. But these things, they know that they're doing this, and they are perfectly okay with it. And it's perverted on every level. And that's why I like to tell you that these creatures, they're so demonic. They are demonic because when you think about the damage that she's doing to her son by being so seductive, and this is to a young mind that totally looks up to her. Oh, it's terrible. And what happens is these boys sometimes think that they're more superior than the father, especially if the daddy is in the house. And and he thinks that he has a closeness to the mother. Now you got to remember that she's still a narcissist, and so she set forth this illusion that will have him think this, even though we know at the end of the day that no, it's just her warped way of thinking, and she is basically doing this for a purpose. And so this is where we find that the relationships with fathers can be damaged because again, the son has been taught that he is the man, he is better, he is the one that she looks up to, she's the one that he that she looks for, just any type of emotional support. And so she also will use envy to control her son, and so she becomes jealous of his friends. You can't go out and play because I need you to help me with this. She's jealous of his girlfriends because she's going to take you away from me. And furthermore, she's not even good enough for you. Hang out with me and we'll find you somebody better, which there is nobody better for her son. And, and when he has a wife, wow, the mother begins to compete with a wife. And it even gets worse as the wife, as they start having children, because those are not the wife's children. That's not their children. Those are my babies. Those are my grandbabies. And so she uses now the grandchildren to infiltrate more into the marriage and get more control over her son and his wife. And she's just twisted. She's demented. She's a whole demon, and she undermines their relationship, and she is completely disrespectful. And this is where now you find that the sons may be challenged because this is her, this is his mom. His whole life he's been conditioned to look up to her and do whatever she says, and just not even question, or even if he feels like this is awful, I feel kind of guilty for what I'm doing to my wife. But because the mother is who she is, he listens. He's really he's conflicted because he wants to honor his wife, but the mother. And so, he ends up feeling like he's unseen or he's unheard, and he just feels like, he's being pulled apart. And it's all because he needs his mother's approval. The cord needs to be cut, gentlemen. That cord needs to be cut. Everything that he does always will have to highlight the positive nature of his mother. And what you find is that he sometimes ends up in a relationship with another narcissist because that's what's comfortable to him. That's what he knows. Or he ends up a codependent. Now, he may be very successful in life. Just because he's a codependent, it doesn't determine his success. He can function, with a set of rules, or, with whatever he chooses to do with his life. It's his emotional needs that are not met. And so he needs to be validated constantly. And so that's why he may end up with a narcissist or a toxic person in general. And it's simply because he feels he never had that. He was never validated by the mother. So he doesn't trust himself. He's insecure. He's unaware of his self-worth. He's not connected to his authentic self. And so, that's why he does. You do find that they tend to attract other narcissists. But another thing is that you do find that they also attract borderline type personalities. And one other way that the narcissistic mom affects or negatively impacts her son's life is it gives him intimacy issues, because he's not connected to himself. And, when I say intimacy, you got to remember that intimacy is not required for sex. It enhances it, but it's not a requirement. Intimacy is what you create before that. And so because he's not connected to himself, he's unable to fully express himself. He's not in touch with his feelings, and so he can't identify them also. And so, he generally won't feel comfortable in an adult relationship because he emotionally abandoned himself once she emotionally was incestuous with him, once she manipulated him, once she robbed him of his true identity. That's why she's so demonic. Like, which mother does this to her child? We are supposed to nurture our children to experience success. We are supposed to want our children to do better than us, but not her. Not her. And this is again now, ladies, where we have him as a mama's boy, because he's always got to report back to mama to find out, what do I do here? What do I do now? How do I handle this situation? Oh, can I buy this? She's managing his finances, but he has a whole wife. He has you, his girlfriend, but he always has to run back to her. You might as well just be in bed with the mother. Another thing is that, he also just feels like he needs to remain close to the mom because that control has been normalized. And so it's crazy. And sometimes, because like I say, like, they lack that ability to connect emotionally, they are unable to be intimate, right? So you find that, just like a narcissist, and some of these children do become narcissists or even borderlines. But anyway, this is where you find them with multiple partners. So you're wondering what happened here, and the mother is cheering them on, because guess what? Nobody will be as good as me. Nobody will be as good as your mother. You remember that goofy mom in Tangled, Mother Knows Best? Kind of like her. Mother knows best. You are the best, and these women are not good enough for you. And so she hypes up her son and silently laughs at him because he's missing out on life and love, and she enjoys toxic environments. And so even when his life is in chaos, she can sit back and say, well, I'm okay over here. Something wrong with you, And it's just crazy. You do tend to find that sons of narcissistic mothers do tend to have higher rates of narcissism, and oftentimes they are attracted to older women simply because it's a comfortable thing. He's been groomed by an older woman, he's been seduced by an older woman, he's had to cater to the needs of an older woman his entire life, and so that just feels natural to some of them. And you also do find that they are caretakers in relationships. They're always catering to the needs of a woman because that's what they know. And sometimes it's just out of what is familiar. It may not even be what they want to do, so there's a little resentment you find sometimes, yet they still do it. And until he breaks free from this spell, until he has his own spiritual awakening, he will always be bound to the ways of his mother or the ways of his upbringing. And this is again why it's so demonic, because it really does affect the trajectory of his life. Not only that, but his children, the legacy that he leaves, or the name that he leaves for himself. And so she's very, very damaging to her children or to her son, and all without regard. It's all about her. And one of the ways that men, sons of narcissistic mothers, can heal is really, guys, gentlemen, you have to cut the cords. You have to cut the cord so that you can breathe. You have to be able to take that first breath for yourself. Inhale. and begin to figure yourself out, begin to know you. And it may be very frightening at first because you've always had to go back to her to validate who you are. You've always had her influence in your decisions. You've always had to cater to her needs, but it's so freeing. Go no contact. Go no contact, especially while you're going through your healing process. You may reevaluate it at another time, but the further that you can get away from that, sometimes you want to honor who she is, but sometimes that takes distance, because if you are close up to her, you might just, I'm just saying, she may, it may get kind of, furniture might move. I'm just saying, but like, cut the cord, create some distance, and then begin the process of healing. And that's part of that is looking into yourself, getting in touch with yourself and becoming self-aware, practicing abundant amounts of self-love. And when you love yourself, right, it's so important to get to the point where you love yourself, and forgiving yourself is one of the very first steps. But set boundaries. But you can't set boundaries for something that you don't love, and you can't love something that you don't know. And so this is where you're going to have to take time to figure out, who am I? And so again, I'm going to throw out therapy. I'm going to throw out counseling. I'm going to say, watch as many of these videos from as many different voices as you can, and continue to put the focus back on you. Thank you so very much for listening to me today. If anything that I said resonates with you, comment, like, share. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.